I want you to close your eyes for a moment and imagine asking your mom for one simple thing. Just respect a boundary. And her response is not to listen, but rather wage a full-on campaign to destroy every relationship in your life. Your mom, the person who's supposed to love you no matter what, protect you from everything, protect you from harm. This is a story about what happens when a boundary sets off a raging war that no one saw coming. Back in May of 2024, a listener, we'll name her Donna. Donna is a mom of 8 kids, had one of the most unimaginably stressful days. Her middle daughter had to be rushed to the ER. Already overwhelmed, she asked her mom, hey, please don't come, not because she doesn't love her mom, but because she just didn't need any more stress. But her mom still showed up. So Donna, instead of letting it go, she went the next day to have a sweet conversation with her mom just to let her know that it hurt her feelings that she didn't listen to her. And that's when everything exploded. After that confrontation, her mom didn't just take it personally, she went nuclear. She asked Donna's sister not to speak to her anymore. She started spreading rumors about Donna's husband being abusive. I mean, let's just think about that. Just imagine your mom like going around to friends and family, just talking, well, just spreading really damaging and destructive rumors about your kind and caring husband. And it doesn't stop there. The mom now has Donna's oldest daughter living with her, and the daughter refuses to talk to Donna. The rest of the family is being drug into it in certain ways. Even Donna's son's future in-laws are being pulled into the drama. The mom is actually spreading gossip about Donna to the future in-laws, just trying to poison that relationship too. This literally breaks my heart. I mean, you have to imagine this is your mom, not just ignoring your boundaries, but actively working to tear your life apart, to alienate your kids, smear your reputation, all because she didn't get her way, or maybe she felt a little hurt because you stood up for yourself. Like your mom, the person that's supposed to love you unconditionally, your ride or die. She's here distorting reality, making you the villain. She's the victim. This is seriously devastating. So as I go through like my perspective of what I would do if this was happening to me, as if I'm Donna's big sister and she's calling me for advice, I first want to tell you, Donna, that you did nothing wrong. So any suggestion that I make, I just want you to know I'm trying to help. I'm not trying to make you feel bad. So if this were happening to me and my mom was doing this, I would try to calm this down. Your mom right now is acting textbook like an emotionally immature person. She's not just hurt, she's retaliating like in a malicious way. She's gathering people on her side to validate her feelings, to make sure she's right, she's the victim, and you're the problem. And I believe your mom is on like the last stage of the brain on fire, where you gather your minions for support. But what can we do to like put this fire out? Before we even get to the diagram, I want to make sure you understand what we're dealing with when I'm saying an emotionally immature person. This person is emotionally stunted. Like they are stuck when they get emotionally overwhelmed. They have the same skills to process emotion, to self-reflect or not self-reflect. They act literally like 3-year-old or a young toddler. You can't expect much out of them. Like that is how their brain literally functions different than a mature brain. So I just want to make sure that we are imagining, even though we're looking at maybe a 60-year-old, a 70-year-old, that 70-year-old has a 3-year-old controlling the levers in her brain. So everything she's doing is very, very immature. It doesn't make any sense. It's very dramatic. It's very reactive, much like a toddler having a temper tantrum. So understanding the brain on fire framework, I'll just kind of go over this briefly with you. Step 1 is you set your boundary, and in that moment, they're not hearing your kind words. All they hear is rejection. So either they're not good enough, they twist your words and they're hearing that they're bad in some way, or they hear that you don't want them in your, or you don't want them in your life anymore. So they hear something completely different, which leads us to step 2, which makes them feel really rejected. Now this is where you drop the match and the brain actually starts on fire. You have a release of adrenaline, cortisol. Now these are the hormones for like, you're under attack. Here's some adrenaline to like get out, run, like take action. But in the step 2, where they're starting to get really, really uncomfortable with that rejection feeling, just imagine you're like in a room, it's filling with smoke, your lungs are burning, you're coughing, your eyes are burning, the flames are getting closer, it's hot, it's so uncomfortable, which leads us to step 3, which is the alarms start going off. Fight, flight, or freeze. Take action. There is a life threat detected, and you need to do something to get away from this. So you're trying to escape the discomfort, that feeling of rejection. So sometimes you'll have an emotionally immature person fight back, and that's where you're going to get that impulsive, like, reaction or that impulsive statement, that clap back, where you're kind of like, that came out of left field. That makes actually no sense in this situation. You might get a flee, they'll just run, or you might get like freeze and they'll just shut down and won't say another word to you. All they're trying to do in fight, flight, or freeze is just get away from that feeling. Like that's not going to work very well. That's just their initial emergency response. Then their defense mode is activated. Now this defense system is top notch, best in the world, best ever invented. And now all these steps, I want you to know, happen subconsciously and automatically and within milliseconds. So it's all happening really, really fast. So in step 4, when the defense mode is activated, you're going to have blame shifting. This is where you're too controlling, you're too sensitive, like what's your deal? Like, so they're shifting the blame onto you. The next thing they do is story twist. They twist the story so that you're the villain and they're the victim. And they do this again to create distance away from that discomfort feeling. So she probably feels like you came after her. Like she probably feels like you yelled at her. Like you kindly said, you know, it hurt my feelings. But in her brain, she rewrites it like she screamed at me. Like she was just screaming at me. And all I was trying to do was help. And then the last thing in step 4 is martyrdom. And this is where they're like, after everything I've done for you. So after their defense mode is activated, now we move to step 5, which is where I believe your mom is, Donna, right now. Step 5 is 911 calling for backup. So they need to be rescued. An emotionally immature person, now remember, it's a toddler inside when we're talking about dealing with emotions, they can't self-soothe. They can't tell themselves like, it's going to be okay, you're fine, you're okay. They don't know themselves. They don't have a good sense of self. So they need to rally everybody around them to tell them, it's okay, you're okay. I mean, just imagine, you just escaped a fire barely, like you have smoke in your lungs, your eyes are burning, you're coughing like crazy. Maybe you even have some burns, like you've just got out of there. You're going to call, EMS to say, like, tend to you because you're just so shook up. That's literally how they feel. They feel so rattled to the core that they need people to come to their rescue. And how they tell them what happens is they tell them the story twist. They tell them the distorted version of reality, the distorted version of events. So the people that come, I call them their minions. It's kind of like Gru, where, he gathers his minions, and even if he doesn't give them instructions, they are always trying to be helpful, and they go off and try to do stuff, and sometimes it just does more harm than good. Well, that's kind of the same thing as, with an emotionally immature parent. When they gather family, they'll call on family, they'll call on friends, they'll even go to social media if they've burned all these bridges down. But what happens is their story twist is so dramatic and unbelievable that people just automatically just feel so much sympathy for them, and they want to take care of them. It's a very good defense mechanism. It meets their need right away. The emotionally immature in-law, parent, whoever, they don't even have to say, go get them. The minions automatically want to take care of Gru. They want to take care of the person. And so they're going to go out. They're going to go after Donna. They're going to go after you. And they're going to accuse you of doing things that are just wild, so against your character, things you would never do. Like you're so hurt that they would even accuse you of it. But really, they're just seeing someone that's really, really injured back on this side of the fence. And they're trying to say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you would do that to them. Will you go and fix it? They're just trying to get them to have care. Like they need this mom, this parent, this emotionally immature person, they need care. And so they squeeze a Donna, they squeeze you, they squeeze whoever fell out of line to get back in line, come back so that moms like Donna's mom or people that are emotionally immature feel like they have control again. Back to if this were my mom and this were happening to me, if you haven't already, I would go to her and I would try to apologize for making her feel like she wasn't needed or wanted. Now, to be clear, you're not apologizing for the request for privacy at the hospital. You're simply trying to de-escalate her little system. Your goal is to stop the fire from burning down more relationships. Like, for example, you could say something like, Mom, back in May, when I asked you not to come to the hospital, I was really overwhelmed. I could have handled that differently. I know you were just trying to help, and I'm really sorry if it felt like I was shutting you out or misunderstanding your concern. That had to really hurt you, and I'm really sorry. I have to tell you, I miss you, I love you, and I just want to know, is there a way that we can find a way forward and heal? Now, I know some of you are thinking, What? After everything she's done to this woman, you're asking her to go apologize? And you're right. Her mom's behavior is like so out of line. But sometimes with people like this, taking the high road can calm them down just enough to stop the destruction, which is what we want. We want the backlash to stop. But let's say you've tried it. Let's say you've already went to her, you tried apologizing, you've extended an olive branch, she is doubling down, not backing down. Then what? Well, at that point, you need to switch your focus. You need to shift your focus. You need to stop focusing on what she's doing, that you can't control it. It's impossible. So start to focus on what you can control. I would focus on protecting my relationships. If your son's future in-laws are being drug into this, you have every right to clear things up. You can go to them and say, hey, I'm sorry you're being pulled into this. This is honestly incredibly embarrassing for me. I just want you to know the rumors are not true, and I'm really excited about our future together. Number 2, you can correct the narrative. Anytime someone comes to you with one of her stories, you can gently say, that's actually not what happened, and I'm sorry you've been told that. Like, keep your response short, firm, and don't get drawn into the drama. Number 3, you focus on your kids. You have 8 of them, so I know your daughter is over at your mom's, not talking to you right now, but even that daughter, you can still send her little messages, I love you, thinking about you, and once in a while you can just say, I'm ready to talk whenever you are. Just keep that door open without pushing, unless she has specifically asked you not to reach out. And number 4 is to set internal boundaries. So remind yourself that your mom's actions are a reflection of her limitations to process emotions. She is emotionally stunted and behaving like a toddler having a tantrum. Just imagine that 3-year-old inside of her brain controlling all the levers. For me, that really helps me. Just give me a little space. That's an internal boundary. So I hope that helps you. Before we sign off, I do want to go back to the beginning and clear up one thing. It is a very common misunderstanding about boundaries, and it's something I had wrong until well into my 30s. When you said, I set a boundary with my mom, and the next day I let her know that she had crossed it, that's not exactly what happened. What you did was you requested that your mom not come, but that's a request, that's not a boundary. A boundary is something you have control over 100% of the time. So a boundary to you was, I can't have my mom here. Like, it's already just too much and she would just add to it. So if you're looking at that boundary of like, how can I enforce it and how can I control it? One way to mind that boundary would be, I'm not gonna tell my mom I'm at the hospital until we're home tomorrow and I can just tell her like a recap of it. That would have been you having a boundary, no mom at the hospital, and then you minding that boundary to protect your peace. So going forward, hopefully you and your mom do find a way, like a path to heal. I think for me, an internal boundary would be, I'm not going to share as much with my mom. I know that she doesn't respect my boundaries, but I also know that some of the information I give her could be used against me, or she could just show up to places I don't want her to show up. Oh my gosh, this is such a heavy situation, and truly there are no easy answers, but I want to hear from you guys now. Like, have you ever dealt with a family member who has crossed the line this badly? Like, let's talk about it in the comments, because I know that this community is so full of wisdom, and we can just help each other out by sharing our experiences. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, until next time, friend, make sure you keep minding your boundaries. Bye.